So it's 10:30, welcome back. We are gonna pick up our 10 a.m. item, redistricting, public hearing number 1, introduction to the redistricting process. And this is sponsored by CAO Hutchinson.
So Deputy CEO Matthew Rothstein is going to introduce our contractor, Margaret Long.
And if you
who's here
can,
today.
please put your,
Sorry.
thank you.
Hi, yes, this is Matthew Rothstein, Deputy County Administrative Officer. I wanted to thank you, Board, for taking up the previous item earlier this month to set our redistricting hearing schedule. I'm excited now to present Margaret Long and Carolyn Walker of Prentice Long, who will be conducting today's hearing. Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to share a screen and see if we can get our PowerPoint started so we can have a discussion regarding redistricting. As we discussed with the board prior, the process of redistricting requires us to have 4 public hearings. This is the first of the public hearings that we'll be holding. It was noticed in the newspaper, it was noticed on the website, and this is an opportunity for us to introduce the redistricting process. I know the board is familiar with it, but to introduce it to the public as well. I'm Margaret Long with Prentice Long. I've been coordinating with your fantastic staff this process. I have with me as well Carolyn Walker, who is an attorney for my office, who's been doing a lot of work on the public outreach components related to this process. So, as we do with every public hearing we hold relating to redistricting, we just want to remind the public what this process is. Every 10 years, the census data comes out from the federal government that provides us information on the locations and number of individuals in our community. Once we receive this information, we are required to look at our boundary lines. So those are the districts that are drawn that the supervisors are elected into. We're required to look at them and make sure that they are accurate, meaning they are proportionate, they're appropriate, they don't divide communities of interest, they are federal and California law compliant. And so this is the process by which we go through and do that. The process is this, especially this year. So this is in 2010 when this came around, the laws were a little less inclusive. And what the state legislators decided since the last go round is that they want this to be more inclusive, to allow the public to be more involved. And again, this is the first hearing, which is the information to the public about how they can be involved. And the concept is that as we do this redistricting, it's important to get the public's input, looking at what they determine to be the community of interest, looking at what they determine to be appropriate groupings. So the Board of Supervisors, through these process, is seeking input from the public to come in and provide that information in whatever mechanism you want to. You have an opportunity to share with the board how you believe the lines should be drawn. You can provide that in oral testimony. You can provide that in maps that you draw yourself. The board and the redistricting committee accepts the information in any way you would like to provide it. There's an opportunity again for the public who is non-English speaking to be involved. The request should be made 72 hours if you would like some translation services provided. And we have an email set up through the county staff at redistricting@lakecounty.com, which again, you can submit any requests you have, any questions you have, or any input you have regarding this redistricting process. Because in 2020 and 2021, the concept behind this is to make sure the public has as much access to this process as they can and be involved and as they can and want to be. So again, going through the law, we're looking at AB 849 and we're looking at a bunch of different things. So when the public sits down to look at giving suggestions to the board about how to draw the maps, we do ask them to keep this in the back of their mind that we are looking at a number of factors. Primarily, we want the districts to be geographically contiguous, meaning we want them to make sure they're all touching each other. We don't want to have islands unto themselves, and the law does not allow us to do that. We want to try to the best of our ability to keep local neighborhoods or community of interest together. This is not always possible, but again, the best of the ability of the Board of Supervisors keeping those community together is what the law requires. Again, minimizing divisions, not creating islands. easily identifiable boundaries. So again, we try not to divide things in the middle of rivers, streets, highways, bridges. We try to kind of keep all those points and boundaries together as best we can. We try to keep them as much geographically compact as we can. So what that you always say is that, you see a lot of communities that have arms. So, they've got a little a point and then an arm or a tentacle going off. We don't encourage that, and the law doesn't encourage that. They try to keep it as close together as possible. And of course, we don't look at anything that's discriminatory. So we make a very distinct responsibility not to divide up jurisdictions based on the political preference of individuals in that district, race, anything of that nature, economics. We don't look at those factors, and we try to make it very clear to the public that we will not be able to look at those factors. So the next hearing we're going to have, public hearing, is going to be talking about the communities of interest. And so again, we want to keep this in the back of the mind if anyone wants to participate in this conversation, to understand what a community of interest is. So again, we're looking at trying to keep populations that share social and economic interests together. Again, looking at for single purposes. A lot of times you'll see these as special districts or cities. A lot of times you'll see them as shared facilities or shared resources. And looking at those, again, the definition, we provided some examples of that: transportation facilities, work opportunities. If they have a very common interest in a economy, that would be considered a community of interest. But we don't look at political parties. We don't look at the current supervisors' positions. We look again at what the geographic makeup is. So for timelines for this process, again, we are looking to get the delivery date of the census data from the federal government, September 30th. Again, California has asked for some time to be able to adjust it based on prisoner population. So they're going to go back and look at the federal data that's provided, and we're already getting federal data at this point. So I'm hoping California's deadlines will be pushed up as well. But California is looking to adjust it based on the home of the individual in the prison, not based on where they are currently housed. So they have to do an adjustment on that, and they're asking for 30 days. Maps are looking to be published on November 5th or slightly prior to that again, and looking to have a final adoption from the county at November 30th, because the deadline for us to get this done is December 15th, 2021. So how the county residents can be involved, again, we're going to be holding 4 redistricting public hearings. They're going to be available via Zoom. So we encourage the public to attend. This is the first one to provide the information on how to get access to it. The next one, again, we're going to be looking at communities of interest. We will be publicizing forms that people can fill out to kind of give us an idea of what they view as a community of interest. We'll be providing our suggestions and looking forward to comments on that. The November 2nd hearing, again, is going to be the hearing where we actually start looking at draft maps. This one's scheduled for nighttime so that the public can be more involved in it. We're looking at doing it on November 2nd at 6 p.m. So again, looking to get as much public as involved by doing this meeting at night. And this is, again, the one where the public can come in with suggestions on maps, and the board will actually be presented with maps that are drawn and suggestions so that they can start looking at the actual lines. The final meeting will be November 30th, and that's where we'll be adopting the final map. So again, between November 2nd and November 30th, we'll be working to take all of the considerations from the board and the public and presenting a final map for adoption by the Board of Supervisors. These are all available via Zoom, and again, encouraged to participate. So how can residents get involved? This is, again, the important part of this conversation today is that the Board of Supervisors needs you to get involved. We are asking that if you have any maps that you would like to draw, please submit them to the redistricting website you see here. The board and staff has also made a website. It is on the Lake County website under Government, Boards, Board of Supervisors, and Redistricting. So if you go onto the website and you go into Board of Supervisors, it is one of the tabs you can tab on to get in there. We will provide additional information there. We'll provide samples of the drafts, any forms that we submit, meeting minutes, that will all be on there. So if you have any questions related to that, that's a really good first place to go. Again, the public can also listen versus a bunch of different social media And these videos will also be, they are recorded and they will also be available to view as well if you're unable to attend the meetings. So again, if you have questions, we encourage you to go to the website. That's a really good first place to go. It's up and running, already has great information on it. If you have anything you'd like to submit or specific inquiries, the redistricting at lakecountyca.gov is the great way to do that. And I thank you to the staff of Lake County. Working with Matthew has been an absolute pleasure. Very responsive, very knowledgeable, and making this process go very smoothly. So I really am very appreciative of that, and IT and GIS staff as well. But again, the process works because we get people participating in it. So the goal of today is to encourage folks to participate, encourage folks to reach out with their thoughts and suggestions. It will all be considered. Everything is taken into consideration and looked at. And so we encourage you to do that. And thank you for the opportunity to do that quick PowerPoint. And I'm happy to answer any questions before we open it up for the public meeting.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions or comments from the board? And so I do know that the federal government did a quote-unquote dump of a lot of data, and I tried looking for it. It really is not available on a local level until September 30th. That's where, because I think it was much more 30,000 view of 30,000-foot view of everything that's inside that data, rather than drilling it down to like the city of Clear Lake or city of Lakeport or things like that. Am I correct on that, that it is out there, but it's not available with that kind of specificity?
You're absolutely correct, Supervisor. It is a data dump is a great way to describe it. And we are hearing that they're going to continue to do that and provide it more information before September 30th, but the date we still have is September 30th. So we will, if they are gracious enough to give us the information ahead of time, and California is able to process it, we'll speed up our process as best we can.
Okay, thank you very much.
But we're still working out those timelines.
Okay, thank you so much. I do have a question, and I don't think it's within the purview of the contract that we have with you, so the question might be to staff. I think it's important for us to pay attention to the legislative districting that's also going to happen within the state, both for federal and for the state of California. What kind of level of scrutiny are we having on that? Are we in a group that is active in all of that? Because that's really important to us as to who our future representatives will be. I know we did write a letter saying, please keep us within the scope of Napa and Sonoma County with Mike Thompson. Just kind of curious of what level of participation do we have?
And so I'm going to defer to Matthew for that answer to that question. He's the staff person that has dug into this the most. Matthew?
Yes, and we've not been directly involved at the federal level to this point. We have certainly indicated to our representatives that we would like to be apprised of any updates, but we have not received any to date, and I can definitely follow up on behalf of your board.
And I'm taking it's probably similar timelines for all of the above than what we're dealing with locally.
Yes, very probably so.
Okay, thank you so much. Just something that I'll check in from time to time, just because I think that's a really important factor for us to make sure that we have the proper representation moving into the future. If there's no further comments or questions, let's go ahead and open it up to the public, both in the boardroom and the Zoom room. Any public comment? And I'm sorry that we haven't changed the final date from December 15th to anything earlier for you. I know from the Registrar of Voters perspective, it's going to be a tight window. And we'll just have to work together to make sure that that's as, I hate to say as simple as possible because it doesn't sound simple, but hopefully everything will be done in time so that it doesn't have to push your deadline a little closer. I see no hands up in either the boardroom or Zoom room, so let's go ahead and bring it back. And today was a public hearing presentation. There's no actions needed to move forward, but we do have our schedule of meetings that are coming up. And Margaret, if you can please let us know again when the next meeting is.
Absolutely. The next meeting, one moment, and I'll pull it up. I'm happy to go through all the meetings one more time just because I think that's very important information. So the next meeting is October 2nd. It'll be at 10 a.m. In the boardroom.
It's a Saturday.
That's where we're,
It's a Saturday.
it is a Saturday. And so it'll be again done as a special meeting. And that will be the opportunity to talk about communities of interest. The next meeting is November 2nd. That's going to be our evening meeting. It'll be held at 6 p.m. And that is where we'll go over the draft maps. And the last meeting will be November 30th, 2021 at 9 a.m. In the boardroom. Again, a special board meeting. And that will be when the final map is adopted.
Thank you so much for going over all that. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on October 2nd.
Thank you. Have a great meeting.
All right.